I the a-hole for breaking up with my fiancé for being in love with another woman? My partner and I recently went on a trip to visit one of his close friends. Let's call her Sarah. It was my first time meeting her, as we started dating during the pandemic and hadn't been able to socialize much. The trip itself was enjoyable, but I couldn't help but notice the strong bond between my partner and Sarah. They seemed to have a deep connection, and it made me feel a bit insecure. On our way back home, as we were saying our goodbyes, my partner told Sarah that he loved her, and she responded with, "I love you too." I was taken aback and hurt by this, as I had never heard him express those words to any of his other friends. The whole situation left me feeling upset and confused. When we got home, I confronted my partner about it, and expressed how hurt I was that he would say "I love you" to another woman in front of me. He tried to reassure me, explaining that their love was purely platonic and that Sarah was one of his closest friends. He also admitted that he had developed romantic feelings for her in the past, but those feelings were not reciprocated, and he had moved on from them when we started dating. I reacted impulsively and told him that I didn't want Sarah at our wedding. However, he explained that he had already asked her to be one of his groomsmen, without consulting me first. This made me even more upset, and in the heat of the moment I suggested that if he loved her so much, he should marry her instead. I left and decided to stay with my family. Since then, my partner has been trying to reach out and communicate, but I've been avoiding him. Some of my friends think I may have overreacted, and I'm starting to question my own actions. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my fiancé over this? Update. After reading the responses on my original post, I realized that I may have overreacted and let my insecurities get the best of me. I have a history of being cheated on, which likely contributed to my strong reaction. I finally decided to respond to my partner's attempts to reach out, and we agreed to have a conversation. During our talk, I apologized for my behavior and acknowledged that I needed to work on my insecurities and trust issues. I also expressed that I felt like a third wheel during the trip, which made me feel out of place. My partner agreed that therapy would be a helpful step for both of us. After our conversation, I took some time to reflect on my thoughts and emotions. I decided to reach out to Sarah and apologize for my behavior towards her. I messaged her, expressing my regret and explaining that I was going to seek therapy to address my insecurities. I also reassured her that I didn't hold any resentment towards her for my partner's past feelings. To my surprise, Sarah replied and seemed genuinely confused. She explained that she had always seen their relationship as a sibling-like bond, and had no idea about my partner's past feelings for her. She even mentioned that she was aromantic and didn't experience romantic connections. Feeling even more confused and upset, I decided to take a walk to clear my mind. I left my phone behind to avoid distractions. When I returned, I discovered numerous missed calls and messages from my partner, urging me to talk to him as soon as possible. I mustered the courage to call him back, and he immediately started yelling, asking why I had talked to Sarah and shared our conversation. I explained that I thought it was the right thing to do and that I owed her an apology. It turns out that Sarah had confronted my partner after our conversation, leading him to admit the truth. He confessed that his feelings for Sarah had never completely disappeared, but he assured me that he loved me more and wanted to marry me. He wanted Sarah to be a part of his life, which is why he had asked her to be his best man. This revelation left me feeling exhausted and unsure about everything. I told him that I needed time to process everything and ended the call. I cried myself to sleep that night, feeling lost and scared. Thankfully, my mother has been incredibly supportive, and I have moved back in with her while I figure out my next steps. In the end, I made the difficult decision to call off the engagement. The lies and the uncertainty about my partner's feelings were too much for me to handle. Although he was apologetic, I couldn't trust him anymore. However, I do not harbor any hatred towards him. Love can be complicated, and sometimes it's hard to let go of certain feelings. I wish him the best, but I know that moving forward without him is the right choice for me. Despite the pain and confusion, I am finding solace in my current situation. My mother's support has been invaluable, and I am grateful for the opportunity to rebuild my life. I plan to continue with therapy to work on my own insecurities and ensure that my past experiences don't negatively impact future relationships. I'm also exploring new hobbies and interests, such as creative writing, which brings me joy and helps me heal.